feeling sick and overwhelmed, and
My sister said my life is spinning out of control, and that's something that I think a lot of people may say that they feel going into college with depression. She was apparently pained beyond belief to an extent that she was never able to express.
It made me scared, and I tried to protect her from certain things when she moved to New York and started school. And my mom, I think, was a bit harsh on the phone, feeling like she needed to take the tactic of, hey, you can do it, let's come on, that kind of thing, instead of kind of stroking. And after my sister left and saying, I love you, and I looked out the window and kind of watched her go, and I emailed my mom and I said, everything is going to be fine, love me. There were some warning signs, and she probably should have spent the night, but it's hard to say should have and all of those things because I know it doesn't do anything, but there were signs, and I didn't listen enough.
I knew that depression had been characterized as a mental illness. I knew that it ran in the family and that I had a much greater chance of having it because of that. I don't know, I'm so confused. I want to die, yet I want to live. I'm full of anger and it's scaring the shit out of me. Help me, God, somebody help my dying soul. I feel like crap. Somebody help, please. And then there's a few pages that go on like that. There are times, one or two nights, a couple days where I just want to crawl under my bed and die. And there were times where, I'd like, I'll write myself a suicide note. I just started researching it, just went online a lot and checked out the medical sites and stuff like that that had information on depression and talked about the symptoms. And then there were like little online tests. Do you feel this way, this way? There's certain feelings, and if you answered so many this way, then you may have, they didn't say like you have depression, or they always said, you may have depression, you should go seek treatment or see if you need treatment. Having those notes and the tests, I decided that that's what I needed to do.
Well, certainly depression is an illness, which I understand now.
Depression is an illness very similar to the types of physical illnesses that everyone commonly thinks of as illness.
It is a disease. It's not just a phase.
If it was looked at as the illness, like any other illness that you could have, those are always easier to talk about because it's something that's concrete. But I think with depression, it's not widely looked at enough as an actual medical condition.
I definitely think there's a taboo as far as like talking to professionals about suicide, like going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something like that.
I think with other diseases, it's people are more socially accepting, maybe. And then when it comes to depression, it's just people don't talk about it. And that really needs to change in our society, or there are going to be people who continue to go untreated. And our suicide rates are going to continue to be as they are. And that's really got to change.
I'm fairly certain that he knew he was depressed. I don't think that I don't think that escaped him. Did he ever consider getting professional help? I don't know.
He could have been, but I really doubt it. Some people just don't do that kind of thing. Or they don't know about it enough to do it, or it's kind of off in the distance,
I pretty much knew I had it, but I was looking for more of like a doctor's opinion or somebody that was like a professional about it. But at the same time, I didn't want to go and get help.
The last time I saw him, which was a week before his death, he was like on the top of the world, He was careless and just very ecstatic. It was really bizarre.
he had changed, I think. He used to be a really fun-loving guy, always having a good time, always talking to everyone. And then at some point, he stopped doing that. At parties, they said he would just sit in the corner and listen to music. He started to become more reserved and saying really weird things. I feel like that's a major sign that some of his close friends didn't realize that he really had a problem. But if you really see a change in what their patterns are, because I never heard anything of anyone saying maybe he was depressed and maybe he needed some help beforehand.
I had never asked my friend point blank, have you attempted suicide? Do you have a plan? And I guess they were questions that I didn't think of asking or didn't want to know the answers to, but when asked point blank, she definitely answered. And she said yes. And that's about when I burst into tears, because I thought that we were catching it way before there was any possibility of it happening. And I thought that I was being overcautious, and I didn't realize that we were lucky that she was still with us.
Sometimes the biggest mistake people will do is wait. And by the time they have a second sign, it's too late. I would rather be all right and have someone think that I'm suicidal than to be suicidal and someone think that I'm all right.
Where it leads to suicide, where they're becoming more depressed, not wanting to talk, not wanting to hang out, secluding themselves from other people, that's definitely a time to step in.
It's in their best interest for you to get them some help.
You probe, you ask questions, you talk, you get to know, you see if there's a plan, you see if there's forethought.
Suggest that they go talk to a counselor or something. I think that's an important step, even opening their eyes to the option that they have of going to somebody professionally.
Maybe a resident assistant, or just going to a clinic.
A lot of hospitals and stuff, every emergency room I'm pretty sure has a suicidal center.
It could be calling a hotline.
Most campuses, you have at least a certain number of sessions that you can go to for free to see a counselor, especially if you're in a crisis, in an emergency.
Don't wait and hope that it's just gonna get better. It's okay to ask for more help.
I tried attempting suicide. Well, I attempted suicide actually on Thanksgiving.
I freaked out. I was like, oh my God. And his girlfriend and I were on the phone, discussing about how we should take action upon it.
He actually went to the counselor in school and said, you know what, I think there's a problem with my friend. And he really didn't know what was going on, but at the same time he was concerned, which shows he's a real good friend, and he stuck with it.
Brought him down and briefly told him, I was like, listen, I know about, what's been going on, and I'm bringing you to help. I was like, you might hate me now, but, in the long run you won't. I wanted to get him help, but didn't want to, hurt him in a way that, he would think, I'm trying to go against him or anything.
And he said, I just want you to talk to them. And I'm like, well, that's all right, I can do that. So we went in, and right off the bat, they asked me a bunch of questions, and they just asked me how I was feeling and how long I've been feeling this way. And it helped me out. It gave me, basically, it opened a door for me to get help.
Sort of an optimist. I think that there's definitely a solution for people. If an individual can't see that, the people around him can, and can intervene and get some help.
If you turn your back on that person or decide that you can't carry the burden anymore and something does happen to them, that may be a regret that you're carrying with yourself for the rest of your life.
As much as your fear hurting your friendship between your friend, in the long run, you never will. It'll build your friendship, and that, you should never be afraid to get help.
Oh, I'm a diehard optimist, so I'd say there's always hope. But that's because I've seen all hell break loose and I've survived, so I figure it must be possible.
So it's something that you have to be open about and willing to get help for. And it may take a long time, and be willing even at one point to talk to one person about it, and then maybe 2 people, and then go from there?
I would have said that there was no way possible. I couldn't even picture a bad future. It just couldn't picture a future at all. So now I can see a future, and I see it as being a pretty good future.
I think if you do reach out to somebody, you'll be really surprised at who's there to help you. And even when you don't think that there's anybody there to help you, if you just kind of reach out to your friends or reach out to your family, like, they'll come through, even when you don't expect it.
To our friends who are struggling with depression and maybe suicidal, it's never as easy as just seeing the bright side.
It's important to seek professional help.
If you are concerned about someone you know or about yourself, don't wait.
Talk to your friends, your family, a resident assistant, or a counselor.
There is treatment and there is hope.
Yeah, if I had that hour back, I would act differently.